Let's hear it for Christina Brewer. So our focus this month is on our spiritual home. And last week we talked about how important it is to have that sacred space in our homes and our work and our places of worship so that we have this firm foundation underneath us so that we then can move out and serve in the world. We can create sacred space wherever we are. We talked about the idea of using fire, earth, air, and water to bless our homes, our workplaces. Fire through the lighting of a candle and invoking and infusing that with our prayer. Air, using smudging or incense or the voice to purify a space. And we do that here every Sunday through our singing. You know, we uplift the energy, we purify the molecules in the room. Through earth, by bringing in flowers or perhaps salt to help purify a place. And water, you know, that we don't have to go to a priest to get holy water. You can make your own. Just taking the water and sending blessings to it, maybe putting it in a singing bowl and harmonizing it to use water to bless. We talked about do our homes currently reflect who we are? And if not, what kind of changes do we need to make? And that as we change, also our homes change, and as our homes change, we change. And we have a discussion up about our building. Does Seattle Unity, does this building reflect who we are right now? And we're having a congregational meeting on December 8th just to talk about, you know, the future and the changes that are happening in South Lake Union. But if we also take this a step further, the truth is that the entire world is our spiritual home. It doesn't end when we step outside the door or, you know, when we're anywhere. Everywhere we are is not only our world, but our spiritual world. And just as we have the power to create sacred space in our homes, so we have the power to be a blessing in the world. Now, the Institute of Heart Math, many of you know of that, has been working with the idea, studying, experimenting, keeping track of statistics around moving from the head to the heart and being able to bless a situation and how that can change and how it can heal different situations. And one of the leaders at the Heart Math Institute, Deborah Rozman, shared different examples about how we approach life from either a head space or a heart space. Now, we need our heads, right? Because we need our logical brains, we need to balance our checkbooks, we need to make decisions, we need to make judgments. But at the same time, we also need our hearts, and there's different places for each one. So we know we're in the head space, she says, like when you're in the grocery store, for instance, and maybe have you ever been in the wrong line at the grocery store? Right? It's like everyone else is moving very quickly. Same thing happens in traffic. You get in one lane, everybody's moving. Okay, I'm going to get over here. Everybody's moving over there. And sometimes when we're in our headspace, you know, what the inner dialogue can be something like, why did I get in this line? Why is this cashier so slow? You know, does she have to talk to every single person? Come on here, just buy your groceries and get out already. When we're in the heart space, it's like, all right, breathe. I'm in a line. It will eventually move. Maybe I can read a magazine or something while I'm waiting. Maybe talk to somebody. And boy, if I was really enlightened, maybe send some loving kindness to people. I don't know. Same thing when you're in traffic, right? You know, you get stuck, especially Seattle. Boy, we have some traffic here. You know, there are moments when I've come down from Lake Forest Park for a meeting at the church, and it takes me almost 2 hours to get here. It's like, what? It's 10 miles. How can that be? Are you kidding me? You know, and again, when we're in our head space, it's like, you know, our blood pressures can go up. We can start getting all frantic. But the truth is traffic. And so when we move into our heart space, slow down and go, okay, this is where I am right now. I can listen to music. I always have books on tape, you know, just kind of be present. And I bought a Prius about a year ago, and it has really helped me calm down in traffic because the Prius basically sort of turns itself off. You know, when you're sitting, if you're not going very fast, it just sort of goes, okay, I can just see my car just kind of going, all right, we'll wait. And it's actually caused me to just go, okay, we'll just wait. We'll just sit here, or we'll go 5 miles an hour, whatever, we'll get there. So it's almost like the Institute of Heart Math has created the Prius. And when we practice these kinds of heart movements, these heart mindful practices, we are doing what Jesus said in the book of John when he said, "As I have loved you, so you must love one another." It's the basic of our spiritual practice is love and opening to the love of God and letting that move through us. This week, on November 22nd, it marks the 50th anniversary of the assassination of President Kennedy. So we're going to go to the dark side here just a little bit, so just go with me. And one of the news correspondents that I was listening to this week said, we felt like we knew Kennedy. He was like the first president that we felt like we knew because of television. Before that, all the presidents had been in black and white. He was the first one that was in color. And there's lots of programs and things on remembering him, and I guess there's a show tonight on National Geographic starring Rob Lowe and Ms. Goodwin, and they were reenacting that whole day in Dallas with the pink suit and the whole 9 yards. And one of the things that Goodwin said, she's playing Jackie Kennedy, she said about Rob Lowe, who's playing Jack Kennedy, she said, "There were times when I felt like I was with the ghost of Jack, and I can't say that I have ever had the experience of feeling like that maybe my scene partner was channeling something from a higher source." So when I look at this anniversary that is coming up, I think it's time to maybe begin to heal some of the trauma, and I know that those of you who were born after that time are like, yeah, get over it, stop talking about that. But just as one never forgets where they were on 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, so you just don't forget where you were the day that Kennedy died when you were here. And if you weren't here, those images are still emblazoned and burned into our national consciousness. They're a part of our national being of who we are. It has so affected us. So just for a moment, where were you, if you were here, where were you when you heard about that assassination? And if you weren't here, what is your relationship to any of those images, those iconic images from that day? And just sit with that for a moment. Remember. I was in 3rd grade, and I went to school 2 blocks from my house, and so my brother and I would come home for lunch every day, and my parents worked. So we had an hour for lunch from 12 to noon, and we would get our lunch, and then we would eat our lunch in front of the TV, watching Bozo Circus. And so I'm watching Bozo Circus, and my brother got up and left the room. He went into the bathroom, and I'm sitting there by myself eating my lunch, and all of a sudden this newscast comes on, and it says, President Kennedy's been shot. And then it went back to Bozo Circus. And I thought, well, that's weird. I wonder if that actually just happened or not. And then my brother came back, and I said, did you know that President Kennedy just got shot? And he said, how do you know that? And I said, it was on the news. It was on TV, and there was Bozo Circus. And he said, you're lying. I mean, come on. Brother-sister things. Like, oh, stop it. So we went back to school. And I think it was about an hour later that a monitor came by and, announced to all of us that President Kennedy had died and that we all went home. We were all to go home. And I don't know if you remember, but those 3 days, that's all there was on TV, was that funeral. You just watched every single thing as it was happening in real time. And that, too, is the first time that ever happened. I mean, now we have the internet things. We know instantly what's happening in Egypt and Afghanistan and China. We know instantly in the Philippines. We know instantly what's happening now. But that was a new experience for us to collectively feel, particularly the shock and the grief. So actually, I would like you just to turn to someone near you and just say very briefly, where were you and or what is your experience with those images of that day? Just, I'm going to give you like 2 minutes. Okay. You know, the thing is, this kind of story is so big that it's hard to say, well, I was watching Bozo Circus at the time. You know, it's like, because it's such a big experience that we all had in our own way, collectively. It's so I invite you to finish that conversation later. But I would like to take the time to kind of go back and heal that. Not that we can heal that situation in a way of changing it like it never happened, because we're in this timeline, and this is the timeline that exists for us, and this is the timeline that we're in. But I believe that we can take situations, and we can do this with our ancestors as well, just to go back and bless the situation. So in using the technique that is actually in your bulletin, I'm going to walk you through it. You don't have to read the bulletin, because I will walk you through it. But I would like for us to send loving energy to that time, to that place, and to that experience. So if you would, shifting your attention from your head to your heart. And one of the ways we do this is by breathing slowly and deeply. Now activate a genuine feeling of appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. Gratitude, appreciation. Sometimes it helps to hold, to touch your heart, to bring that. Who do you love? What do you love? Bring it in your heart. And I invite you to radiate these feelings of care and appreciation toward yourself. And as we remain in this place, we know that nothing can hurt us or make us sick or afraid, for greater is the Spirit of God within. So I invite you to take whatever memory you have of that day, and if you weren't here on the planet then, whatever images you have of that day, on November 22nd, and just hold it in your heart. Breathe love. Breathe healing. And we release it and we let it go. I invite you now to bring in any of your ancestors who may be, that you know of or not know of, that were in pain in some way. Perhaps it's a grandmother or a great grandparent. Hold that person in your heart as well. Knowing that as you go back and heal this and bless that person, that you're healing yourself and future generations just as we hear that cry of that baby. Then taking a full and complete breath and exhaling, releasing, and letting go. Now when you're ready, open your eyes and come back to this time and this place. And this is the kind of practice I think that is being called for from us in this world, because as we create sacred space, as we go out into the world, we recognize that rather than seeking to be blessed, we are a blessing just basically because we are, and we have that ability within us. On the morning of November 22nd, Oswald had been estranged from his wife and sought reconciliation that morning. It didn't happen. He was very abusive toward her, and he left his wedding ring on the dresser. And by all accounts, it appeared that he was wanting to go out with a bang, change things, not for the better. And what I see that happened on that day is that it seems like that event sparked a decade of violence, because it was followed by the assassinations of Malcolm X, of Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, and Vietnam. And it was a very violent decade. And I think that what we see happening now is that people have moved from shooting public figures, although that still happens, to shooting one another. The increase in shootings is just, I think it's astronomical. I see that stress levels are high. We're having the climate crisis. The Filipino climate chief, Yeb Sano, is on a hunger strike right now because he's at the climate conference and he's like, you know what? We need to stop talking about this and we need to start doing something. We need to stop this madness because people are dying every day while we are talking. And it seems like in the way that the number of shootings that have increased, it's like Oswald's gone wild, in the collective consciousness, in the outplaying of our lives. And in just noticing, perhaps with yourself or others, how many people are easily offended or angry. That we may not be shooting with bullets, but I guess we need to ask, are we shooting with words? 2 weeks ago, we were at a staff meeting here at Seattle Unity, and the SWAT team walked in, not in our staff meeting, but the SWAT team was here, and they had their bulletproof vests and helmets and the assault rifles, and they're like, can we go up on the roof? We want to put a sniper up on the roof, and, can we use your bathroom window? Because behind us in the building, a woman had just found out that her husband had been murdered, and so she was threatening either to kill herself, and who knows, we didn't really know what was going on, but the streets were blocked off, and the helicopter is going overhead, and, we have the SWAT team walking around the church. It was a little weird. And yet we did what we do as a staff. We stopped and we prayed. Because, the inclination is to go to the drama, like, what's going on, and what's going to happen, and wow, and instead we sat in our staff meeting, and an image that I got was that of a dial, and it was turned up, and there was all this static and all this drama. And so it was like, all right, let's all imagine that dial's turned all the way up right now, because the drama's happening next door, the drama's happening all over, and here's the drama, so let's turn it down, first in ourselves. So we imagine just turning it down. Turn down the drama. And then from that place, we were able to bless the situation, not knowing what's going on, bless the SWAT team, bless the person who's stressed out, bless all of it. Bless it. Just turn it down. Turn down the drama. And it ended peacefully. The woman was taken, I believe, to Harborview. The helicopters went away. The yellow tape came down. The SWAT team left. In fact, as they were leaving, I think Cindy asked if they swept the roof while they were up there. And what's odd is there was nothing about it in the news. because nobody got hurt. And it was like it never happened. It's like they just packed up their stuff and they took down the thing and everything was back to normal. And it was like, well, that was weird. And so the inclination is to go to the drama. It's like, nope, turn down the drama. Now, the question is, did it end because we prayed? The truth is, who knows? You don't know. And when we pray, it isn't ours to know. It's only ours to do it. To be the vehicles, to be the instruments, to turn down the drama, to go to the heart, to send that love. And amen, really. So, Dr. Emoto, he's the man who's been working and studying water and the effects of words and blessing and cursing on water. And he did this one experiment with 3 different flasks of rice in water. And the first flask, every day, this for 30 days, he'd go up to the one flask and he'd say, thank you. And then to the second flask with rice and water, he'd walk up to it and go, you're an idiot. And to the third flask, he ignored it. And he did this every day for 30 days. And what he found at the end of the 30 days is that the rice and the water that he said thank you to every day fermented. The rice that he called an idiot every day turned black. And the rice that he ignored rotted. We are 60% water, yeah? And so those words that are spoken to us, we take in. And it's especially important when you have kids. The things that you say. Have you ever been called an idiot when you were a kid? And how that can just go? Or also, you're a child of God and you're wonderful. You're a blessing. So one of the ways that we turn down the drama in the world is by recognizing that we have the power to bless. Not only do we have the power to bless, but we are the blessing itself. We have the heart math techniques that we can try and practice. Eckhart Tolle said that the power for creating a better future is created in this present moment. And you create a good future by creating a good present. So what's our job? Whether we're in the wrong line at the supermarket, or you're in the wrong lane when you're in traffic, guess what? Enjoy the present moment. By enjoying the present moment, we create a better future. We can shoot words like bullets, or we can shoot words of love. We can create sacred space in our home, and when we do, we have a firm foundation on which to go and serve. But the truth is, yes, we have our homes, our work, our places of worship, but the entire planet is our home, is our spiritual home. And we are called right now to be a blessing because we have the power to transform and heal the past, like November 22nd. We have the power to heal the climate crisis, even though it may seem bigger than anything that we can handle. We are called to be a blessing. We're called to turn down the drama. We can go to that heart space because we have the power to bless, because we have the power to be the blessing. May we all be it. Thank you.